All right. Part two. Part two. First time didn't work out. All right. So let's just go into like how you became a strength and conditioning coach and how you got
Yeah.
into it through the years and stuff.
Yeah, man. So started off, I found the weight room at a young age. Became obsessed all through high school, even into college. I mean, it's what I did. I mean, I just loved working out, loved learning new, um, new methodologies and philosophies on working out. Tried the college thing for a while and, tried to force that and then really just, um, found my way. Like I said, I think I went to Australia and spent a lot of time, reflecting. Uh, and when I came home, I bought my first CPT, so certified personal training certificate, and started training friends. And shortly after, I think that was like 2010 ish. And at that point, I had already actually trained. Um, I had trained at a place before I actually went to Australia. So I'd already been coaching for a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
both high school football. I'd coached high school football in like '08, and then I did some just summer stuff for a gym that I ended up working at. But anyway, decided like that's what I wanted to do for sure when I got back from Australia. So that's the first thing I did. And again, just did it pretty part time at that point, and then went all in around 2010, 2011, and yeah, started out in the CrossFit world, doing some personal training, and then from there, with most of the personal training was student athletes, so high schoolers, some young college kids, but mostly that, and then a lot of CrossFit on my part, like trying to be an athlete, and then in 2015, I had a couple of surgeries on my hips, and then I blew out a bicep as well, and like that made me rethink just my whole being an athlete instead of trying to be an athlete. I was just went and dove
Mm-hmm.
into coaching, and that's where I did my first like full on deep dive course on just coaching, and it was based off like individual coaching, and so that's where a lot of my philosophy comes from. Individualizing the athlete. Um, yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. So I think that answers your question.
Yeah. So like let's go into like your philosophies then. Like what are
Yeah,
some of your philosophies?
yeah. So I mean, the one thing is like like nobody's. I shouldn't say nobody, but for the most part, nobody's like nothing's novel anymore. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like
yep.
these strength and conditioning, protocols have been around forever, and so that's why I think it's funny. A lot of people like think they're, act like they're coming up with something novel, but we're all standing on the shoulders of giants. So just basic stuff, like things that I really look at is I'm looking at time under tension. I'm looking at dose response. I'm looking at and I'm looking at the strength speed continuum, and then I'm treating athletes as individuals. So
Mm-hmm.
as a whole, you can have like I like to like write a program, and then I like to individualize with the accessory work. But again, I think I talked about on our first calls like n
Mm-hmm.
equals one. You have 10 athletes, and it's very rare that those 10 athletes need the same exact thing. Now
Yeah.
they might need the same, like yeah, they need to increase strength, they need to increase stamina, they need to increase like connective tissue integrity, stuff like that.
Yep.
But they're all going to have different, like, oh, this guy's got tight hips, this guy's got tight ankles, this guy's got a bad right shoulder, this guy's got a bad low back, and so there's all like that accessory work is where you really make it individualized. But that's really what I look at, and then you look at athletes too that are just naturally, again, looking at the strength speed continuum. You look at guys that are naturally, or girls that are
Mm-hmm.
naturally like absolutely strong, and
Yep.
or are and it might be slow, like
Mm-hmm.
absolute speed wise, and then you look at people like that are super fast but are pretty weak from an absolute strength perspective. So kind of using that sliding scale, based off the individual athlete, you can make a fast person faster by just increasing their absolute strength and their strength speed and their speed strength, um, and then their absolute speed, obviously. And again, just I think that's the most fun part about programming is like the nuance in that is
Yep.
like just finding the right formula for each athlete.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that definitely. Um, so
And then I
I'm
guess the last thing before you go on
yeah.
is from a philosophy standpoint is I love to get I really love the Olympic lifts.
Yep.
I said last time I love it.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's like utility in sport outside of Olympic lifting is relatively limited.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so like there's other things like you know a lot of unilateral work, a lot of rotational work that I think mimics sport a lot better and translates a lot better personally.
Yeah.
Um,
For sure.
so I like to focus a lot on rotational movement. But yeah, that's my philosophy.
Yeah, for sure. Then, so I know you gone into like individual practice, and like then you've also been a strength and conditioning coach at a school. So you want to just like go over like the pros and cons of both, like what you really
Yeah,
liked about both and what you
yeah, I
didn't
think
like about, you don't really like
yeah.
about both.
So private sector is cool because you set your own hours, you set
Mm-hmm.
your own, you decide what you're getting paid, and because you're doing that, people that come like want to work
Mm-hmm.
because they're paying.
Yeah.
Whereas like I grew up and I didn't have my family didn't have a lot of resources, so I've always wanted to give people that didn't have the resources the opportunity to do to work with someone like me. And so working at the school was really awesome from that perspective. That being said, if I worked with 140 athletes,
Yeah.
zero of them paying, I think it was like 140, 150 athletes.
Yep.
Like, man, if I'm saying 10% gave a shit, like that's 10% would give me 15. So I'll say 20% just to be on the,
Yep.
just to be, a little bit liberal with it. But, so that's saying, well, we got 30 people out of 150 that really like are grateful for this.
Yep.
And then you got, 120 people, and of the last, the next 120, you've got, let's say half of them, again, just being given the benefit of the doubt. Half of them, they're like, meh. And then you got another half that like truly don't give up anything. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
just there
Yeah.
because it's like, because they heard it was fun.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so the biggest thing about the public, and again, I think this would be different at a collegiate level
Yep. For
because
sure.
people playing sports at a collegiate level are deciding to do it. So they're
Yep.
either, if they're a school that offers, if they're at a school that is big enough to offer scholarship, they're working for a scholarship or they're working to keep a scholarship. Um, and then D3 athletes, it's like, dude, D3 athletes don't get paid. So it's
Yeah.
like it's a full-time job. You're there because you love it so stinking much that you are going to play and be broke and and just do it for the love of the
Yeah.
game. So
Yeah.
you're gonna grind. So I think at a collegiate level is like would be boss, but at the high school level, it's like you got a lot of kids that just don't care at all. And so
Yeah.
that's the biggest downfall. But I like helping the people that like don't, and even the people that don't care. Like I think the best part about like Kadaf, for example, is like helping kids that like didn't even play sports and just like teaching, like it's cool to be strong and like it's cool to like build that relationship with your body and build that confidence like in the weight room, but also it transcends through every part of your life. So I thought that part was super cool, making the
Yeah.
impact on kids.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. Then you want to go into like, so I know there's like different strength and conditioning coaches, and like they have different philosophies and everything. So what's like some negatives you've seen in like different coaches that like you would say you don't agree on, and like
Um,
some of the things they do that you would say like is like not necessary in some points.
yeah, I mean, so I think at the end of the day, especially at a high school level, I think any strength and conditioning program that has buy-in
Yep.
is so like good culture
Yeah.
essentially
Yep.
is doing positive things. You know what I mean? So like I always say, you could have the best program, the best nutrition, but if the athletes hate it,
Yeah.
then and you don't have the buy-in, then it doesn't matter.
Yep.
Well, and like examples of that is like I could give you the perfect meal plan, the perfect workout plan,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't like doing it. Every day you wake up, you're like, oh my god, this sucks. I
Yeah.
hate this movement. I hate this diet. Like and so then it's like you're not putting your effort into it, and you might miss more days because of it. So like the best plan is the one that people are doing consistently and
Mm-hmm.
they're excited to do. So I'll say that, and then I think the biggest thing is just like dogmatic approaches. So
Yep.
like so just like anything in life, like whether it's Muslims or Christians or blah blah blah, it's like
Yeah.
it's the dogma that's the bad part. You know what I mean? Like people that can open their eyes and like see everything and like kind of, take people's opinions like, oh man, you're right. I actually see what you're saying there. And then they can utilize it and they can move forward and grow. Like I think whether it's, again, no matter politics, religion, strength and
Yeah.
conditioning, I mean, no matter what you're talking, like as long as you have an open mind and you're willing to, evolve, then I think that things are good. But that's what I see, especially in like small schools, is like especially Cadet. They won their state championship in '99, and then
Yeah.
you got half the football coaching staff is from that team, and they all think that you need to be doing BFS and you need to be doing and you need to be bench pressing and you need to be squatting heavy and you need to be doing all this stuff. And it's
Yeah.
like they think it worked for them back in '99, and so then they think like, oh yeah, let's do it today. But it's like, I'm not saying it didn't work for you guys, but I'm also like, if you look at the stress on the average teenager this year compared or this, today versus 1999, like let's talk about that. Like there's probably some things that are easier. Like I think, the average income's much higher. It's easier to get like nice clothes and food and all this stuff.
Yep.
But if you go aside from that stuff, it's like, kids are dealing with, the same old bullying in the hallways, but now they're dealing with all same social stress they're dealing with online. And then and they've always got those inputs. So that dopamine hit all the time. And then they've got AAU this, AAU that.
Yeah.
Like when I was in school, man, nobody played year round.
Yeah.
Nobody, guys went to wrestling camp.
Yep.
But they didn't wrestle at clubs year round. And then you're playing ball on top of it. So you got guys that are playing football, baseball, basketball, or football, wrestling, track, and they're doing one of those sports year round, and then they're playing the other two sports. And so that overall stress, I think, is just higher. And then on top of it, it's like when I was in school, you could take like, calculus was like a class you could take and like would be considered AP or whatever. And it's like now it's like people are taking 30 credits of college courses before they graduate high school. So there's just so much stress on the average teenager that just wasn't there 30 years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
Or 24 years ago, 25 years ago.
Exactly.
So I think then you got these coaches that this is what worked for us, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, and you can't treat kids like that. Like back then it's like, your coach was beating you. And it's like, now it's like, you gotta, so it's like, so I think the biggest thing I think is the dogmatic approach. And then people overstepping their own knowledge.
Yep.
So it's like, I've been coaching Olympic lifts for damn near 20 years. I've been coaching them for 15 at a high level for 15 years. I've been doing them for 24 years. So it's like, if I want to coach 150 high schoolers how to do Olympic lifts, then I'm going to coach it because I know how to coach it. Yep. But you got some turd that just looked at a YouTube video and is trying to teach the clean. Stay in your lane is like all I got to say,
Yeah, for sure.
But again, back, full circle, if you're not dogmatic and you're open-minded and you're making it fun and enjoyable, then and you're building that culture, like which is all intertwined, then that's a good program, man, especially at the high school level.
Yeah, I agree. Like definitely being open-minded and having a approach where you can just being able to learn, being coachable, trying to like see the new workouts, what's working for these athletes, like because and like NFL, like you always see like some of these guys doing Pilates, for example. How is that helping them? Then it's like you look into the research of all that, then it's like
that's what I think is everybody thinks their way is the best. And I was a CrossFitter for a long time, and CrossFitters, I mean, that's one. It's like CrossFitters and vegans are like the top two demographics that it's like you don't have to ask them what they do because they tell you about it. And it's like, and so it's like. But that, and they think this is best, this is fitness. But it's like, dude, if you can intertwine all of those variations, like you take yoga, Pilates, you take some bodybuilding stuff, and you take some powerlifting and some Olympic lifting, and you take some Goda, you get some and then you get some WEC method stuff, and you get some like all of this different stuff, functional patterns, you name it, and you put it all in there. Even like animal flow and you name it, and you can put little parts in there to make it fun for people. And I think then you're building lifetime skills, because let's be honest, like you're training power cleans, back squats, bench press. Like I'm a almost 36 on Friday, year-old man with 3 kids. Like I love those things.
Yep.
And there's zero utility in my life for heavy back squats, bench press, and bench. I still bench like with dumbbells, and I do a lot of push-ups and stuff. But like like heavy single bench presses, clean, snatch, and back squat. Like there's zero utility in my life for that. If my number one priority is, living long and prospering and playing with my kids, like, you know what I mean? Like it's, and so I just think that's, and even see that listen to, like, I think I heard Matt Hasselback, who's, he talked about how, they were always doing cleans when he was coming up as a quarterback. They were always doing cleans and back squats and this and this. And the average career of a quarterback back then was much, much lower than it is now. And you got Tom Brady, who's working with, the TB12 method. I don't think he ever used anything but bands.
Yeah,
and he played till he was 45. And it's like, so there's something to be said about that, But back to, a little off topic, but back to one of the biggest downfalls of like coaching in general in this time frame is TikTok, dude.
Yeah.
It's like you got these kids like that like you program a workout and they've got practice tonight, but then they're still going to, after practice, they're going to do, biceps and chest. And it's like, I get that you want the aesthetic thing, and you're making yourself slower and less athletic by not allowing yourself to recover and not focusing on the things that matter most for, again, your sport and your goals.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's like one of those things you have to take it all with a grain of salt on TikTok.
Yeah.
Like there's always like, you have to like go look at multiple videos, like see the research on it before you actually like start involving it into like a workout program. If you're going like after school, like there's a difference between like if you're watching freaking Chris or like the Trend Twins or whatever on YouTube versus like if you're watching like
Marcus Phillies.
Exactly. Like someone who's more functional training and all that.
Yeah, and again, function is a product of your function.
Exactly.
If the Trend Twins, their function is being roided out of their brains and getting as big as possible, so they can't scratch. So they have to scratch each other's backs. Like that's their function, man. They don't care about health or well-being, they care about being the biggest, strongest, like freakiest looking, muscular people that they can possibly be. Yeah, and that's cool. That's cool if that's what you want. But I'm not interested in that shit.
Exactly.
But yeah,
for sure.
I think I answered the question and probably babbled a little bit. But
no, that's all good. Then you want to go into like how you approach your like diets with like athletes and stuff, like what you tell them.
Yeah, the biggest thing I've noticed, well, even not, and it's so funny because I always say it in high school, but it's like it was the same with the adults that I coached in the CrossFit class. It's like all these people are trying to get, like, they want to get stronger, like they want their performance to be better, and they want to look better.
Yeah.
And what are they doing? Well, they're restricting. All they're doing, the only diet method they're using is calorie restriction.
Yep.
So all I got to say to you is, if you're eating 2,000 calories and you want to lose 10 pounds, like we know the law of thermodynamics, like you take in more than you burn, you get fatter. If you burn more than you take in, you lose weight. And so that's easy. That's simple. That's science. But if you start at 2,000 calories, especially like me, a 210-pound male, and I'm already supposed to be eating like 3,000 calories, but I'm eating 2,000, and I want to lose 10 pounds, so I'm going to drop it down to 1,500 calories, and then I plateau again. Yeah. Then my only option is to go down again. So then you find me 10 years later, which is why most 35-year-olds are fat, is because they've done that their entire life, including in sports. And when you're 12 to 25, you can get by with it because you're young and resilient, and you don't have a lot of responsibilities. So you're resilience, and you're to stress and whatnot. Your stress bucket is left full. And so you can get away with that shit. But that restrictive model, it's like the same thing as like you want to get rich, but instead of making more money and creating wealth, you just spend less. Yeah. Well, you can only cut spending so much until you're like, fuck, I can't do this shit anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's the biggest problem, is you got these people that are overtraining and under eating, and because the body is an amazing thing, you start from a couch and you go do anything that's different, the stress response results in desired results. But then fast forward 3, 6, 9, 12 months, if you're getting injured or you fall off the wagon big time, like this isn't because you suck at what you're doing, it's because what you're doing sucks.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? So it's like, and so I think that's the biggest thing for, mentally for people, and I would say females more than males, but definitely for people in general, is they have this scarcity mindset around like their body's metabolism.
Yep.
They just like less, restrict, 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 and really it should be, and this is different for everybody because everybody's got a different, like I'm a fast oxidizer, which means if I eat carbohydrates, it's like putting pine needles and gasoline on a fire.
Yeah.
It burns hot and it burns fast, and then I need more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if I run a lot better and a lot more efficiently on fats. So it's like, but you got to find that out yourself. You can take blood testing and do all this stuff, but the biggest thing is, it's like you got this body, and whether you live for 15 years or you live for 115 years, like your only job, outside of like, yeah, you need to make money and like, to live and stuff, but like your only real thing is to figure this shit out, build that relationship with your body, and which are the hard losers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like each one of those have their downfalls, and each one of those have their positive points, but working in that margin for you and your goals. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like if you're an ectomorph, then you need to eat a lot like more. If you're an ectomorph that wants to gain 10 pounds and you weigh 150 pounds, you need to eat like 160 to 170 grams of protein, and then you need to eat a ton of carbs, most likely. If you're an endomorph and you weigh 240 pounds and you want to weigh 210 pounds, then you should be eating like that 210 grams of protein, and you should be cutting carbs, and you should be eating fats. And so it's like finding that for you. But again, if there was one really simple thing, is eat enough and focus on protein.
Yeah, for sure.
Eat enough and focus on protein. And again, protein, the simplest thing for protein is your body. And again, there's a lot of nuance to all of this, but if you're just looking to give the best advice to the most people, it's 1 gram of protein for desired body weight.
Yeah.
So if you want to gain weight, you want to lose weight, you set that number, and then you work from there, and then eat enough. Eat for your goals. So it's like, if it's different for a wrestler. You got to lose 20 pounds. For wrestling season, then those weight sports or weight categorized sports, that's a different monster. But most times, if you're playing football, the goal is performance. Then you should want to perform. Like if you're eating for performance and you have a 6-pack, that's awesome. But I want you to go look in the NFL. There's a lot of guys that have 6-packs. If you look at the average running back and linebacker, doesn't really have a 6-pack.
Yeah, exactly.
The average quarterback doesn't have a 6-pack. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying they're not awesome athletes, but they aren't the leanest athletes for that sport. Does that make sense? And so like, bodybuilding is a sport. So if you want to be a bodybuilder and want to train for that sport, then awesome. But if that's not your sport, then don't try to be a bodybuilder and be the best football player that you can be. Like, if you have the genetics to do that, that's great. But like, just recognize, your goals and what you need to get there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I totally agree. There's definitely like I think a lot of people just don't understand, like, you need calories. Calories are energy. They're energy. Yeah. It's literally simple as it is. Like,
it is, man.
You need calories, and I think a lot of people, I think they look at some of these fad diets like these, and they're like, oh, that looks good and all, but it's like, ultimately, that's not what's going to help you in athletics. That's for people who are trying to like lose weight.
Yeah.
Or like,
well, and even that stuff, man. It's like, I see all these guys going on the carnivore diet.
Yeah.
And just do your research on the carnivore diet. Like, the carnivore diet's a great thing, but people like true carnivore diet is nose to tail eating. That means you're eating liver, you're eating kidneys, you're eating eyeballs, you're eating testicles. Exactly. You're eating stomach lining, intestinal lining. Like, that's where the Inuits get their greens, is from the intestines of whales and sea lions. And it's like, so it's like, but too many people take the parts that they like and leave the rest. Like, oh, I could eat a T-bone steak every night. Fuck yeah. But again, same thing I talked about before. You've never done it. You've been eating like a turd, and then you eat only T-bone steaks and lean burger. You're going to get lean. But then fast forward 6-10 months, or even maybe you make it 5 years, but then you've got other deficiencies because you haven't been eating any vegetables. And it's like, dude, it's a balance. It's again, just if you can avoid the dogma. Like, find what works for you and your family, for you and your partner, whatever,
Yep.
for you and your goals. And so, but yeah, that's the biggest problem with social media in general.
For sure. For sure. Then you want to go talk about like how you go about helping athletes with like their mentality, like with mental
Yeah,
stuff, like building them up. Because like there's athletes, because I was one of them, of course. Like
yeah,
I was like a practice warrior, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
like I'd go on the field and it'd just be like, oh, can't wrestle under pressure or whatever.
yeah, yeah. It's like my big thing is just like mindset. What is mindset? And
Mm-hmm.
the simplest definition of mindset is it's the story you tell yourself about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So when I work with people on mindset, especially on an individual level, I don't want to hear like you tell me. I don't want to hear about what you can't do. I want to know what
Yeah.
you can do.
Yeah.
And I don't want to use words like I said, can't, don't.
Yep.
I don't want to focus on the negatives. I want to focus on all the positive things. So
Yep.
I try to really focus on in the weight room, like like I have to work out today. No, I get to work out
Yep.
today.
Exactly.
Things like that. So I try to ingrain it into every part of my coaching. How this is a gift, this is an opportunity, this is like all these things. But then when I work one on one, I work with the story
Yep.
of we all have that little voice in our head. Is that little
Yep.
voice in our head? Is that helping us towards our goal, or is it holding us back? So is it like is it like, oh, Logan, you piece of shit, man, you
Yeah.
can't do this,
Exactly.
you're just, what are you even doing here, you're just a giant poser, blah blah blah?
Yeah.
Or is it like, man, this is what I train for,
Yeah.
this is what I put in all that work for, I'm just as qualified to be out here as this guy, and I'm gonna beat his ass.
Yeah, you
And
gotta think you're him.
like,
You gotta think you're him. Like essentially, you have
100%.
to think that you're the best out there. Like that's
Yeah,
what I've
and
found out.
and even on top of that, it's like, I don't know if you've looked into it at all. It's like Russell Wilson's mindset coach. His name was, I forget his name, Trevor Moad or something like that. But anyway, he wrote a book called It Takes What It Takes. And I actually absolutely love the sentiment behind it, because a lot of people in the mindset community are all about positivity. But it doesn't have to be, it's not about positivity, because sometimes that seems a little far fetched. Like you throw, like the example would be like, is like, you throw, let's say you're in a, let's say you're at a tournament and you lost your first two matches, and this next match is like you lose this, you're out of the tournament.
Yeah.
And it's like positive thinking is like, I'm gonna win this, I'm gonna do this, and it's like that can be a really like hard pill to swallow when you just lost two. You just wrestled two shitty matches.
Mm-hmm.
But the trick is understanding that those last matches and this next match really have nothing to do with each other.
Yep.
So you just need to go back to your roots and like just be like, so it's like when you think like mantras, they shouldn't be like these like positive this, that, and this. It should be like what you do. It's like, I worked for this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm ready for this shit. Like it's like, he talked about, it's like like it was Michael Johnson and his sprinting, and it was like head down, be fast, be smooth, and it's like all of his like training mantras. So it's like you put in the work, and if you do what you trained, then you're gonna make the win. You're gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
sure.
that neutral thinking. But again, having that inside, like your gym partner in your head.
Yep.
Is he your hype man, or is he tearing you down? Because a lot of times, even us, like me, until I brought my awareness to it, like my inner critic was more of a pulling me down than he was putting me up. Like he was saying shit to me that I wouldn't say to my worst enemies.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think getting a grip on that, and as as corny as it may sound, writing that out on paper, saying it out loud, and then rewriting that story is what it takes to be the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then just execution, man. Like it's not about like this fairy tale thing where you're gonna like do something you've never done. It's like you're falling to your training, but compared to your opponents, that's rising.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's the biggest thing, is the mindset is like, and it's every part of your life. It's not just in the weight room. It's not just on the mat or on the field or on the court. It's in every aspect of your life. And I guess it's an embodiment. You know what I mean? Like you live it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like I know Tom Ryan, the Ohio State's wrestling coach, he always says positive infinity. Yeah. Positive infinity, which is like a great quote to go by, because like that's the way it should be. It should be positive infinity.
Yeah, man. And a lot of people think like it's winning or losing, but it's like also
No.
understanding that when you lose, like you don't have to beat yourself up. It's like losing, like how much you win, how much you learn when you win.
Yeah, not very
like,
much usually. Yeah.
But when you lose, you can look back and be like, oh, I should have did this, this, and this, and this. Like, even if I look at my my sport now is my elk hunting. I lost for 6 years before I won.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's like, and I learned a lot, and I wouldn't have changed if I would have walked out there day one and shot one, 10 yards off the trail. Like, what am I learning?
Yeah.
Living it, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree 100% with that.
One second here, I gotta.
Yeah, no, you're all good.
Little babe.
You're all good. It's. Yeah, I think like because I went through wrestling mindset and what they said, like, don't focus on the outcome, focus on the effort. Like, focus on the effort.
And even even just to be a little bit more like granular, like what you said is like, you don't even say don't focus on, because when I say don't focus on a white elephant, like the first thing you think of is a white elephant.
Yeah.
So it's like, just focus on the outcome.
Yeah. Focus on the effort.
Forget the rest of that shit. Like, it sounds cool on paper, but don't focus on the outcome. Just say focus on the effort.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just
it's like
within your words. Yeah. Switch it up.
100%. Because your words, man, they are magic, man. What you say, what you think, like that's your reality.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's important. It's like, and I think it's perfect. Like, I have a 3-year-old. I tell him to don't do something, and that's the first freaking thing he's doing. If I tell him to, if I say, don't go down the stairs, he's going to go down the stairs. If I say, go upstairs and brush your teeth, he's going to go upstairs and brush his teeth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How you
So
word stuff is very important.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, that's the big thing on mindset is the words, the stories in our heads, and then like focusing on what you want instead of what you don't want.
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
for sure. I mean,
but
yeah, that's all I got for you today. I mean,
man,
we hit the points. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool,
Thank you
man.
again for a second time.
Hopefully recording worked this time.
Yeah, it did. It did. We got her.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too, Jason. See you.
Yeah.